Go. So welcome everyone to this week's community call. So we got a few topics here for discussion. So the first thing we're gonna head into is regarding the Pocket DNA errors. So Ben will be speaking about this more, and it has been posted on the forum as well. If anyone would like to head in and take a read on it, and the link is also in the events if you need to reach there. But yeah, definitely some exciting stuff. And then after that, we're going to get some updates as well from Jack and Dermot, providing some updates regarding the burn proposal progress, as well as marketing updates and about the recent Encode Club Bootcamp Series, which recently passed within the DAO. And after that, just going to share a little bit about the meme contest that we wanted to kickstart for our community. So it's something fun to do as well for that. So without further ado, Ben, we want to take on the next, our first topic.
Cool, thanks Ming. Just going to share my screen, so give me a moment while I set that up. And I'm in Costa Rica taking this call, which is something I'm telling you partly as a humble brag, but partly because, there's quite a bit of background noise, so apologise in advance for that. It becomes a bit overwhelming. Cool, let's see if we can see this. Are you getting that?
Yep.
Share coming through okay?
Yep.
Looks good.
Okay, great. Well, let's jump in. So we did a forum post a little bit earlier in the week, a couple of days ago, really talking about this new concept of errors, which is a small, simple container for a number of things that we think will help bring the DAO into flow. And the reason that we're talking about this is that DNA started off obviously around bringing us all into alignment around purpose, mission, vision, values, and the pivot for it now, on top of building on top of that, is to really think about how we can sort of scale up through the DAO towards our ambitions. And the concept that we sort of think about when thinking of this is like, how do we get the DAO into this flow state, which is really just how do we maximize the skill level against the challenge that we're setting for ourselves. So we've set these new big, hairy, audacious goals, which we're calling ambitions. And now what we want to do is we want to put the DAO in a place where it can really focus on maximizing everybody's capability towards those sorts of challenges, and not so much towards the sort of operational governing nature of the DAO as it existed previously. So simple stop on this might be just a quick reminder around like what is our ambition through DNA and through the PNF thesis. And we've got the 5 key ambitions listed sort of in the middle of the house there. And then we've got these major keystone projects that we're looking to execute against each of those ambitions. Those keystone projects in and of themselves are sort of not enough to get us there. We anticipate there'll be lots of other types of contributions that will support us towards achieving those ambitions. But it is somewhat clear what are the key things we should be investing in as a DAO to take us forward. And so the question then is like, we've got the challenges. How do we actually set the DAO up in a way that's going to allow people to focus on meeting those challenges? And we think there's a couple of things. The first is we just have to avoid all of the known DAO issues. We're actually at an event this week with a whole bunch of other people from other DAOs sort of talking about these questions specifically. But it is fairly common and predictable, the challenges that DAOs are having today around a lack of strategy and priorities, a lot of bloat and waste, a lot of sort of governance drama, either through proposals, which is somewhat natural because they can be contentious, but often around very existential questions of governance attacks and the like in the DAO. We're very fortunate at Pocket that we don't have those sort of existential challenges on a day-to-day basis, but we do have to be very considerate of these other potential potholes or banana peels that we can sort of step on as we're building something. So the idea for us is to really focus on 2 things. The first is to actually focus on prioritising resource allocation towards these ambitions. Yep. We have these sort of keystone projects that we know we want to execute around. And what we want is we want to make funds available for other people, community contributors, builders, both within and outside the ecosystem, to be able to come in and rapidly plug in with some sort of certainty that they can help us execute against those ambitions, without sort of sending them down the rabbit hole of like contentious governance votes to potentially pull funds out to do stuff, and creating a lot more clarity for the DAO around actually what is our treasury, what is our expected burn, where should funds be flowing and where should they not. This question of resource allocation is a really key component, we think, of unlocking the flow state for the DAO. And then this other idea is to think then, what's the path for this financing? What is the ultimate destination? And I think it's pretty clear that we're really in a state now where we're working up to the launch of V1 protocol. I sense that people have sort of thought that this is a dead zone in a way, like there is a sense of what can be done before V1. I think that's totally wrong. I think we're all together on a mission towards executing V1, not just the protocol team. And this is a huge and influential period for us to make sure it's absolutely the best possible launch that it can be, and that we get sort of network effects on top of the protocol team's work through marketing, through our financing, et cetera, et cetera. This is really, really critical. So the era is the period that we're focusing on here on now. And essentially what we're thinking of doing is completing a budget for that period, creating a mechanism so that funds are directed to our main areas of financial and labour resources, so that we can actually focus on that mission, focus on that destination, as opposed to spending a lot of time up and down focusing on what people have put into the forum this week or last. So the way that it comes together is essentially in these 7 sort of components. We have the era, which is the main capsule of what we're working towards. We have the ambitions, or our big, hairy, audacious goals, which define the opportunity spaces for everyone. We have these must-have projects, what we would call keystone projects. And then we have a lot of other sort of should-have or could-have stuff that people within the community can help lead or help execute in pursuit of those goals as well. And then there's 3 mechanisms for getting us on this path towards the era. The first is having a defined DAO budget, actually going back now and making a budget request for a proportion of the ecosystem's treasury towards these major projects, in full transparency of everyone of what do we expect something like, say, Wrapped Pocket to cost to be delivered, and then keeping ourselves accountable to executing against that financial plan. And then the second mechanism that we're looking to introduce is a flexible pre-funded stream from the DAO take. At this point, nominally 80% of the future DAO take will be directed to community contribution types that would support these ambitions. So a simple way of thinking about it is, if we want to run an RFP for someone to do something in marketing, essentially the funds are already there and available from the DAO take to be allocated to people that are making submissions against, say, that RFP. And then the last part is, ERA's fairly long time period. It will be important across the course of that time to work in the open, to check in, to learn, continue the conversation around how we're executing towards these ambitions. So we're introducing a bi-monthly sort of iteration cycle for us to have those conversations. They are not about relitigating strategy. They are not for introducing new ambitions. They're really a touch point for everyone in full transparency to understand how we're going and executing and how can we learn together to get better at that as we go. 2 things I want to talk about, because they were covered in Grow, sort of our our grants mechanisms, but these will become, pardon me, live as part of the era. The first is these pocket open priorities. Essentially what we're looking to do there is match capability with the work that needs to be completed. At some points, I anticipate this will be by bringing new people into the ecosystem. I think at other points, it might be different teams or different individuals within the ecosystem sort of making submissions around how they would choose to execute against one of these priorities in their own way, and potentially what that would cost. So P&F is going to need like a credibly neutral way to act as the facilitator of that sort of process. And the POPs is essentially the way that we plan to do that. So what will be happening, including on day one of the era, is we will be posting some open opportunities on the forum. Submissions can be made during a certain period of time or evergreen. So as an example, there are some pieces of work where we would have a 2-week sort of submission cycle, but there may be like an evergreen type POP. For example, new gateways might be an evergreen type POP where people that want to open a gateway or need some support can use that mechanism to signal their interest and start the process from there. Where P&F's involved in sort of deciding on that, we would share the reasoning around submissions and why they're chosen. And then the funding will be released, as we said earlier, from that predefined stream of funds coming from the DAO take. But it may interlock with some of the other mechanisms that we have as well. The other main sort of mechanism I think that the community will be accessing a lot more, we've run the pilot now, it's working quite well, so we're pretty excited about opening this up more broadly, is sockets, which are really a small recurring seed grant, removing the friction of people starting working on stuff. They'll be very lightly permissioned, open to people with a DAO vote or that have been previously approved for proposal or socket or a bounty, or for people that have the DNA NFT, which is going to be a major driver of our cultural alignment. It's going to give us a lot of clarity around people being bought into the mission that has been defined in DNA and the values that we want to see expressed through people's work and through their communication. So in return for sort of agreeing to uphold and lead on those values, people will also have access to these sorts of financial mechanisms as well, to turn their participation truly into contributions towards the ambitions. So that's sort of like the whole piece of eras coming together. Where are we at on this journey? The P&F thesis defined our metrics and our ambitions. The eras is sort of being described here, and now taking some feedback around thoughts of our operations organising in this sort of cohesive way. Next up will be for P&F to put a budget back to the DAO for funding of the Keystone projects and to get access to the DAO take to support community contributions in, as we said, a lighter permissioned way. And then we're opening up those open priorities to people at the same time. That's the path. And then, this is just sort of, I guess, my mental model for what we're trying to do here. We're clearly trying to get into this flow state. We know the direction we need to grow.
Now, how you been?
Hello? Sorry. So essentially what we're doing is trying to get in this flow state, and it really is about sort of creating the power of the rocket ship through these community contributions and making sure we've got access to the funds and the skills that we need to really power us there. So we're very hopeful that eras can be a simple mechanism, can create a lot of focus and clarity, can create lots of opportunity spaces for people to get involved, and hopefully start pushing us with even more power towards these ambitions and the V1 launch. So that's everything I wanted to cover. There's probably a lot in there. There is the forum post if you need more detail, but Ming, I'm happy to sort of open it up, take some questions, get some feedback.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions or feedbacks?
Is there going to be a kind of like a docs release that kind of lays some of this out? I know that for the past few presentations, yeah, a lot of really good information, but it sometimes it's gets a little confusing connecting all these new concepts together,
Yeah.
and kind of seeing everything in a holistic way. So I was just wondering if there's kind of like a plan to kind of put it together in like a docs form so I can, kind of really see how things connect outside of just the presentations.
Yeah, there definitely is, and there's a big realization that for us, getting agreement to all of these components is then going to rely on really strong, simple onboarding to get people involved. Particularly, as we said, potentially have new people coming into the ecosystem to specifically contribute to this. So that is definitely part of the plan to have a deeper onboarding around this sort of stuff. So far, we've been very focused on designing and putting the information into the public forum for people to digest and support as we've gone along. But yeah, Shane, I think there's a lot of work to do around our broader docs, and this is definitely part of it too.
Yeah, good suggestion. So anyone else with questions or feedbacks? All right, if not, we can probably move on to the next one. Unless Ben, you have anything else to add?
The only thing nothing to add as such, but yeah, we think this is is an important part of the journey for us. I think it's going to create a lot of clarity around what we're working on together, and give certainty to builders of all different types around where funds will be supported. Of course, people can still make proposals to the DAO to access the existing treasury, but what we expect is that there will be less sort of retroactive funding requests making its way in there, and therefore the DAO voters can really utilise their time making harder decisions around what we will and won't fund in those types of things. So I think that's just one thing that isn't expressly called out in there, but by very clearly defining what it is we are doing, it also makes it a little bit clearer sort of what we're not doing, and therefore we think there'll be some changes in terms of the sorts of proposals coming into the DAO. And then just the other point is, we really do want open discussion on this. It is a fairly longer term commitment of 9 to 12 months leading up to the protocol launch. So it is a very important time for people to be thinking about, is this a plan that we're happy to buy into, and do we feel like we're going to be able to support a budget that that's driving us in that direction. So if you have any questions, anything you're not sure about, feel free to reach out to myself, Dermot, Jack, Ming, Nelson, offline. Really keen to hear from you and make sure that we've got as strong as plan as possible to take us forward like that. So apart from that, Ming, nothing else from me.
Awesome. Yeah, so like Ben said, if there's anything you guys wanted to discuss even offline, just feel free to reach out. So yeah, with that, we can then move on to our next item on the agenda, which are providing some updates. So either Jack or Dermot will be providing some updates either for the Burn, marketing, or the Encode Club Bootcamp Series. So feel free to take turns on it.
Okay, sounds good. Dermot and I are actually in the same room, so I think he's going to mute on his end, so there's no feedback loop. I'll cover the Burn stuff, and then I'll hand it off to Dermot to cover an update on the marketing stuff. Things are moving on quite smoothly with the Burn. It's been very, we've been able to move really quickly on things. So the vote is live right now for the Burn. It ends in 4 days, so Monday. We have 24 yays so far and 0 nays, so it's looking pretty likely that it will pass. P&I have started paying the fees already as of May 1st. The proposal was needed to authorize a burn and to authorize the concept generally, but there was nothing stopping P&I from transferring those funds into the DAO Treasury to sort of make a commitment and signal support for the proposal generally. So they've already been paying the DAO for the last couple of weeks, and the idea is that once the proposal passes, those fees that were transferred into the Treasury would be burned retroactively. So we have collected so far from P&I 400,000 pocket, which equates at current prices to approximately $16,000, which is pretty healthy. It's in line with what we were kind of expecting as far as where we could end up on a monthly basis. So also in the last week, as I'm sure you all know, there was a spike in relays for a few days. We hit 2 billion and kind of sat around 1.9, 1.8 billion for a few days. So that will likely push revenue up a bit more this week as well. So yeah, it looks like we're on track to hit where we hope to hit as far as sitting near the top, if not at the top of the Web3 index. On that subject, we have already reached out to all the data aggregators. We did this like 2 weeks ago. And the path to having this data listed on those aggregators differs between the aggregators. So Web3 index will likely be the fastest one. We are working to submit a PR to update how they're calculating our fees. Currently, they're tracking implicit fees from dilution. Once we've submitted the PR to recognize the burning, they'll flip the switch on their end to turn that from implicit to explicit. And then it will be sorted on the leaderboard accordingly. Token Terminal have advised that they would make the changes once the burn is live. They don't want to get started on it beforehand, so we're going to reach out to them again once this proposal passes. And then Masari will probably be take the longest. They're working on a larger data project, ingesting all of the Pocket blocks because they want to have their own source of truth for all of the Pocket data. And as I'm sure you know, they're starting quarterly reporting in a couple of months, and they're looking to support more metrics about Pocket in tandem with that. So we will be making sure that revenue is included in that. Masari doesn't really feature revenue as much in projects generally. I think it's pretty much only projects like Ethereum that have like a revenue dashboard. A lot of other projects just have like market volume and price data. But yeah, it's a priority for us to ensure that with the quarterly reporting, Masari is also covering all of the other data that represents the activity of our network, and get it to being close to the richness of the data that PocketScan provides. Because yeah, we want it to do the project justice. So yeah, that's pretty much everything as far as burn. So unless there's a massive voting block that comes out in the next 4 days to vote it down, it looks like we're going to be proceeding on Monday with, I would estimate, based on previous weeks, we're going to be at around, say, $22,000 of revenue for the month so far, and then reaching 30 plus by the end of the month, which was going to be great for our first month on the Web3 index. Yeah, it's all looking pretty good. So that's pretty much it from my end, unless anyone has any questions.
Cool. Hey, everyone. So I'll be speaking briefly about the recent marketing initiative that we've kind of been undertaking at Pocket, as well as the recent dive out to sponsor Encode's various boot camps. So first, in relation to marketing, this is really building on my post from about 2 weeks ago on the forum, and it relates to our big, hairy, audacious goal for Pocket to be the most trusted infrastructure brand in crypto. And it was really to expand on this and to explain why this is important. And ultimately, marketing is the connective layer that will translate the success of our efforts towards all of the other BHAGs that we're working on to a much broader audience. And ultimately, that's important because we want as many brilliant developers, potential users of Pocket, as well as the broader crypto community to recognize Pocket as the go-to choice for reliable, performant, and cost-effective RPC infrastructure, as well as secondary goals connected to that in terms of Pocket having an amazing DAO, being a great place to work, to be an open source contributor, and everything else like that. So we've allocated $300,000 of the foundation's budget for this calendar year, 2023, towards meeting this goal. And those initiatives include hiring a tier 1 PR firm, which we actually have now done. We've onboarded with them, and they're kind of put to work. They're kind of working on a deeper strategy with us, and they'll be helping to get key people within the community, particularly say the protocol team, to get in front of the right media organizations, to be on stage and to be on podcasts, just speaking about what's interesting, innovative, and special about Pocket and kind of the various technical developments we're doing to really build up awareness of just kind of how amazing Pocket is from the ground up. We also have an offer out on a new head of marketing. The earliest they will start will be the second week of June. And I guess we've also connected to that, we've ultimately allocated a budget. So both the initiatives coming out of our work with the PR firm, as well as with the new head of marketing, there's a budget to put that to work in terms of various campaigns we can run, and we'll be sharing more detail about that strategy and approach, I guess, in the coming weeks. So unless there's any immediate questions, I'll move on to Encode. And really, I think the only thing to say about this is that it's a really great partnership, an example of a bottom-up initiative to generate more and more awareness of Pocket and its benefits, with hopefully some of the newest and best developers in the broader crypto ecosystem. So Encode is arguably the leading educator of new and existing Web3 talent. You can think of them similarly to General Assembly in the broader tech space. They educate anywhere between 2,000 to 3,000 new developers each year across general Solidity, expert Solidity, ZK, as well as specific technology for various kind of blockchains that they kind of work with. So, for example, Polkadot and Near and every other major blockchain you can think of. So the DAO vote has passed for $25,000. And this partnership is going to kick off from this quarter and will also run for Q3 and Q4. And will include Pocket being the recommended input provider, for RPC provider, as well as there'll be a talk from a member of the Pocket community to all of their students, which will be mandatory for them to attend. And Pocket will be included more directly into their education material. So it's just all, I think we won't see the direct benefits of this for months to come, but I think it's just a great initiative, and hopefully this effort will compound over time. Cool. Nothing else from my side, so I don't know if anyone else wants to ask any questions or if you have anything else to bring up.
Does anyone have any questions on what was just shared? Oh, looks like a question was asked in the chat. Well, will be. I think RM looks like it's typing. Asking if there's any future CX maybe this year.
Sorry, what was that, Ming?
RM is asking if there's any possible CX perhaps this year in the works.
Yeah, that's a key priority. It's ultimately out of our direct hands, but yeah, we are talking to all of the key. There are ultimately one or two exchanges that matter in this space.
Awesome. Right. Anyone have any other questions? Right. If not, I'll go ahead and move on to our next item, which just to talk a little bit about the meme contest that we wanted to put forward. And I will work to share if I'm able to. All right. So, meme contests. I'm having a little. There we go. Trying to share my screen and do this at the same time, and the recording is kind of still doesn't really work really well. But yeah, we just wanted to get a meme contest started here. We were planning to have more fun community activities, such as the meme contest, of course, art competitions, storytellings, challenges to kind of get things kick-started. So the first one we wanted to start is regarding meme contests. We just recently did a art competition, so we wanted to liven up a bit as well with different activities. So this one here is really something just fun for some positivity, and it's gonna start from May 12th to May 17th for the submission. So we'll post more information about this as well on the announcements, and people can take a look there. So the theme is gonna be about positivity in our utility usage of Pocket. Trying to mimify it. So it'll be interesting to see what folks can come up with. So requirements is pretty simple, straightforward. Just have to have it posted within the Discord in the meme channel that we have there on the official Pocket Discord. And the account does need to have does need to be more than 3 months old, so we can hopefully avoid spamming from the new accounts from outside the community. And then, of course, wanted to also have this posted on Twitter with text, POC Network, POC News, and then the POC, and then, of course, meme as well, just so we can search for that. The winners will be chosen by the organizers for the first, second, and third place prices, which is listed there, 150, 150. So yeah, I think it's going to be something fun to do, and we'll go ahead and kick this off for submission for tomorrow. But it's really not stopping anyone from starting to submit stuff as well today if people choose to. And yeah, hopefully it'll be something that we'll continue to do, switch up a bit every other week or so, and yeah, something fun. All right. Does anyone have any other questions on it?
Ming, this is awesome. I have a question. Anyone that participates in the meme contest, do they qualify for a trophy
Good question. Yeah, I think so. We
as
can.
it relates to the farmhand?
Yeah,
I forget the specific trophy name, but I
Yeah,
know there's one that
there is
relates
one.
to that. If you collect a ton of reactions.
Yeah, no, that's a great call, and definitely would qualify. So yeah, we'll put that in as well for folks that submit and post it on Twitter. So
A
yeah,
little extra meme motivation for everyone.
yes, that's awesome. And of course, for the memes, do keep it friendly and legal. Not don't get too wild on that out there. So just recall it's something fun. So yeah, we wanted to just create this nice positivity as well. So hopefully everyone will enjoy. All right. Any other questions on this? All right. If not, the last item here is really more of an open discussion for anyone to have any other topics they would like to bring up. This will be the chance to do so, either topics or questions. Looks like a few folks are typing. Jessica's asking, why is PNF so awesome? I would say it's because of the community making us awesome. That's how I would put it. But yeah,
You guys are doing great work. Appreciate you.
thank you. Yeah, exactly. Like Dermot said, we're merely a mirror to the community. So that's really what we are. And Jack already started a nice meme. That's right. We are all PNF. It is correct. So Mo has a question if there is competitor for POC right now.
I can quickly jump in. Yes, there are many competitors in a very large and growing market, both centralized, decentralized, and variations of both in terms of being distributed. But without getting deeper into the analysis, I'd refer you to the supporting analysis for our thesis. There's about 5 or 6 pages on the market analysis that will touch upon the types of different players and how Pocket can lean into its own unique advantages to ultimately beat out all of those competitors. And that is ultimately the bets we're making and the reasons we are prioritizing what we're prioritizing and put the time and capital of the DAO, the foundation, and the broader ecosystem.
Awesome. Looks like Shane is typing as well. And Mo. And feel free to unmute and ask as well if you prefer that instead of type. Is there a link to that resource? Or what to Dermot?
There is. It's I'll link to it, but it's one of the appendices on the thesis post. But I will share that. I share both here.
Thank you. Yep, if you guys wanted to check the chat, it has been posted, so feel free to take a look. All right, any other questions, feedbacks, comments? Looks like Mo is typing something. Ah, awesome. Project has great vision. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Looks like Miss Jojo is typing something as well. Yeah, appreciate all the positive comments as well. But yeah, feedbacks are always great, both good and bad, because of course we learn from everything. So.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
Thanks a lot.
Nothing else. We'll wrap this up, and yeah, we'll talk to you guys again later. And thank you all for joining. Take care.
Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.